No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking god! What the fuck? What the fuck? You just fucking, what the fuck did you do?
Hey, good morning, friends. Today, my friends, is Thursday, January the 8th, 2025, and the time now is 7:40 a.m. So, friends, I want to talk about the United States, Donald Trump, ICE, and JD Vance. And I want to talk specifically about the fact that in the United States, in Minnesota, the city of Minneapolis, there was an event which has sparked tremendous outcry throughout the United States and also in the states of Minnesota. And that has to do with an ICE officials shooting a US citizen. Basically, the official shot the citizen about 2 or 3 times in the face, killing her instantly. And it is also very interesting that at one point during after the killing had occurred or the shooting had occurred, one person who's supposed to be a physician, a man, went to the scene and basically requested to the ICE official that he can go and check in on her pulse, hopefully to resuscitate her. And the ICE official refused the man's request. So it is a very interesting event which has transpired in the United States. Perhaps this could be one of the downfall or the downfall of Donald Trump's ICE raid in the United States. Now, for the ICE officials, it is very interesting that since Donald Trump inaugurated the anti-immigrant campaign and the arrest throughout the United States, the kidnapping of U.S. citizens and immigrants throughout the United States by ICE officials, these guys are coming in public wearing masks. Now, it is an interesting thing where if you look throughout the United States history, I cannot think of any time when law enforcement officials wear masks covering their identity. So I think it is a concerning thing. Perhaps the ICE officials, they themselves know that what they are engaging in, it is not only illegal, but it is wicked events or activities which in the future could taint their image, their reputation. So as a result, they are trying to hide. Now, one thing for me, I want the US government, the Congress, to pass a law requiring ICE officials and all US customs, border agents, or law enforcement officials to go out there mask off. Basically, they should be required to show their identity, their faces. If this becomes the case, I believe that ICE raids will go down, will decline drastically. And the reason for this is I believe that many of these guys who are going out there arresting people, immigrants or citizens, are not law enforcement officials. These are the brown shirts of Europe, brown shirt, black shirt of Europe, Germany, or whatsoever, the stormtroopers. These are criminal elements, okay, in the United States, white supremacist racists who are going out there acting like vigilantes and arresting people of colors or US citizens who they do not agree with. Therefore, if they are required to show their identity, they are going to decline their activities. One of this is because when everything all is said and done, when Trump finally is out of office, when the United States, the American people begin to notice or take in all the negatives that Trump has done, the destruction of the United States, these guys, these ICE officials or law enforcement officials who are now masking themselves, will, if their faces be seen, they are going to be very much ashamed But by them concealing their identity in the future, they get to say that they never engage in the nonsense that Donald Trump initiated. Now, friends, I apologize for deviating. For the second topic, friends, it has to do with a question. And I made a video, a program quite recently in which I asked, where is JD Vance? And I'm going to ask again, where is JD Vance? If you look at the United States history, or whenever there is a press conference, an event where or when the president of the United States has to make a very important message or promote or project a very important information, the vice president and other key members of the administration will basically stand behind the president, basically back him up. But for the past few months or few weeks, JD Vance has been missing. It is interesting, friends. Recently, we saw the United States sending special forces into Venezuela, attacking Venezuela and kidnapping the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and take him to the United States, where he is currently in New York and had even went to court. During his appearance in court, he had emphasized that he is the president of the Republic of Venezuela, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. And friends, once again, the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, had been taken to the United States in New York, where he is standing trial. And during his appearances, he had stressed that he is the president of Venezuela, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Also to stress that he is a prisoner of war, which he stressed that he is a prisoner of war, but also being a head of state, he should be granted his head of state immunity. Now, for the Trump administration, they've brought out charges against Nicolas Maduro, and one of the charges, which many are shaking their heads or scratching their heads about, which is the whole idea that Nicolas Maduro had access, or he had hoarded machine guns. One, he is a military man. He does have, he should have access to machine gun. That's one. Two, he is a head of state, but also the commander-in-chief of his military, the army of Venezuela. So charging him for having machine guns is nonsense. And the charges that they've placed against him, it's very much interesting but stupid. And I watched a program recently in which one of the commentators stated that it appears as if the charges against Maduro were created overnight by an intern, a law intern, who just want to get things together as soon as possible so that these charges can be released Friday night or Saturday morning or so, or whatever. And which makes sense tremendously to me. Now, friends, for the United States, Minnesota, we saw recently ICE officials, Donald Trump had been attacking immigrants in Minnesota and throughout the country. He went against Somalia. He had been disrespecting Somalia, calling Somali people in Somalia garbage people and garbage country. He had been going at Haiti, Haitians, and African people. And minority groups, blacks and brown people, have been arrested throughout the United States and deported to you know where, or taken to you know where around the world. ICE officials have been doing nonsense, and the administration had continuously backed them up. In fact, even after the killing of this lady in Minnesota, the Trump administration released a tweet, or the president released a tweet. They released a statement that the official was doing his business and the lady was trying to run over him, basically hit him and run. Which, when you watch the video, it was never the case. In fact, the official came out of his vehicle and spoke rudely to the woman, "Get the fuck out of the car. Get the fuck out of the car right now." And proceeded to go to the woman's driver's seat door and try to open it by force. At one point, the lady tried to make this swerve to leave. And you could see that the guy actually had already taken out his gun. He aimed and he shot once and then twice. He shot about 3 times, killing the lady. And in fact, prior to that, you could see in the video that the lady was trying to ask another person who was in his vehicle or in her vehicle to go, trying to give her or him the rights of way before she herself could proceed into leaving. So the ICE officials acted foolishly and violently, and this one official finally killing this woman to the point where the woman's neighbor actually filmed the whole event, and she was pissed and she was sad because of what happened to her neighbor. So this is a very interesting but sad event, and I believe it could lead to the decline in activities of ICE.
No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking god! What the fuck? What the fuck? You just fucking, what the fuck did you do?
Now, friends, in terms of the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, my question is, where the hell is J.D. Vance? Where is J.D. Vance? Once again, friends, in terms of the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, my question is, where is J.D. Vance? Where the hell is J.D. Vance? It is interesting that J.D. Vance had been disappearing recently. With the press conference after the kidnapping of Maduro, J.D. Vance was missing. And other succeeding events in the White House or with Donald Trump, J.D. Vance was missing. In the Situation Room, as the attack on Venezuela and the kidnapping of Maduro unfold, J.D. Vance was missing in that room. I think perhaps there could be some kind of rift within the Trump administration, some kind of disloyal or some kind of tension between Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, or J.D. Vance and the others going on within the White House. I believe that could be the case. However, it could also be the case that J.D. Vance and whoever is backing him, this for them is a strategy. The Trump administration is going down. It is messing up so bad. I believe they are removing J.D. Vance from the picture so that the picture of Donald Trump messing up and he engaging in talks in which he says something stupid and J.D. Vance is right there, okay, will not look good for J.D. Vance. So I think what they are doing is they are trying to shield J.D. Vance from Donald Trump's stupidity, Donald Trump's stupid comments, and the blowback which J.D. Vance could suffer as a result of Trump's misaction or misactivities or illegal activities, and the foolishness that he could say, which could basically tint J.D. Vance's image, which could make it difficult for J.D. Vance to become the next president, or if he run in 2028, it could make it difficult for him to win in 2028. Perhaps that is the reason why J.D. Vance has been missing, or J.D. Vance is missing whenever Donald Trump does something stupid or he is engaging in a press conference. I don't know, friends. This is just an opinion, my thoughts in terms of trying to analyze what is happening in the United States. Perhaps I could be wrong, perhaps I could be right, but please tell me what you think. Now, friends, even though I am talking about the United States, I want to bring two things, okay, or topic or events in the discussion. I just want to highlight these two. One has to do with the fact that just yesterday we got news of a Russian flagship oil tanker getting stormed by the United States, okay, or the United States Special Forces. And friends, the other being the president of China, Xi Jinping, and the leader of South Korea had a diplomatic activities recently in which South Korea visited China. The president of South Korea visited China. And it is said that it was his first visit to China since he took office in June. Now, friends, I want to stress that I do not believe that the United States can beat the Russian in a war. where the nuclear weapon is removed. The United States, for the past 50 years or so, had been fighting countries and people who cannot defend themselves. The Russians can defend themselves, and to a greater or lesser extent, they do have exactly what the United States has in terms of firepower. They can fight the United States, they can punish the United States, and perhaps they could even defeat the United States. Once again, friends, the US doesn't want war with the Russians, and now we are seeing also the United States, by its own actions and things that the administration officials and the President of the United States is saying. The US doesn't want war with China. That's something I want to stress. But the fact that the United States Special Forces stormed a Russian flagship oil tanker, it is very interesting but concerning. I think the rest of the world need to be concerned. And friends, I believe that that activity is not a Trump sanctioned activity. Donald Trump is old. Donald Trump is stupid. There are entities within the US government who I believe are calling the shot for the stupidity that the United States and Donald Trump had been engaging in. I think Donald Trump is not wise enough to even comprehend what he is doing or to even make such a decision. Now, friends, I want to bring another event or things that I do believe needs to be talked about. I mentioned in a video which I uploaded yesterday that what the United States did to Maduro or Venezuela and Venezuela could be the fate of Africa. And I mentioned that it could be the fate of Nigeria. But I do believe perhaps South Africa also might want to be very careful. And I've mentioned in the past and even in the video I uploaded yesterday that African countries might want to stack up their governments with Pan-Africanists, radical Pan-Africanists, and basically begin to arm themselves to the teeth for self-defense. And friends, I do believe that South Africa should do such thing. South Africa should begin to stock up on its military gear to protect itself against Donald Trump and the United States. Because I believe that Donald Trump's United States and those behind Donald Trump are stupid enough to go and attack South Africa to try to get rid of Ramaphosa or whatsoever. All of a sudden, now we are hearing many of the Trumpers who were basically cheering Donald Trump up when he went after Venezuela and arresting them to deport them, now cheering up Donald Trump once again for Donald Trump attacking Venezuela and arresting Nicolas Maduro and calling it freedom for Venezuela. For Donald Trump, I believe that the continuous support that he is getting from the MAGAs and many in the United States, I think it doesn't have to, or it isn't about their own analysis or calculation, thorough analysis. I think it has to do with guilt. Because if they begin to accept that what Donald Trump is doing or has been doing are illegal, foolish, and stupid, if they begin to acknowledge that, it means that they are going to have to acknowledge the fact that they made a bad decision by voting for Donald Trump. My friend, therefore, by them continue to support Donald Trump at all costs, they are trying to shield themselves from the guilt of them having to vote for the nonsense that Donald Trump is or that Donald Trump has become or continuously becoming. Now, friends, please tell me what you think, and I really want to know what you think. However, friends, I am going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends. But most especially and most importantly, or most important, my friends, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace, my friends. Peace.